Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by London.
Welcome to the Rangers journey.
Evening everybody, Monday the 8th of December here. Not a bad weekend for the Teddy Bears for once, so we're going to have a wee blather about it and hopefully get through a few things. We're going to just a wee quick match report first of all, and then we're going to have a wee chat about a possibility of the Scottish talent that might be on the horizon for Rangers. Obviously, we spoke about the need for reinforcements in January, so we're going to go into it just now. But guys, first of all, come to Craig, how are you, mate?
I'm doing absolutely brilliant, mate. I think the title sums up very well. There's nothing like a routine victory. Not had many of them this season, so it's good to see. And looking forward to speaking about some Scottish players as well.
Yep. And Scotty, I take it as that made your Saturday night, mate?
I was pretty happy with that, to be honest with you. Wasn't really expecting it, so it was definitely nice. It's nice to sort of go into work on a Monday morning after a 3-0 win and sort of being able to not look overly depressed for the full day. So it's always a nice wee turn of pace. Yeah.
You took it in Oswald's, I believe.
Me and the Germans.
Boys for Hamburg, was it? Or
no, it was just a couple of randoms that I'd kind of bumped into. That was all. It was just, we'll just say it was one of the nights to get away from me. We'll just say that, right?
Good. So what's your opinion about these Saturday night 8 o'clock kickoffs? They kind of jury's out a wee bit with me, to be honest with you. I'm not too sure how I feel about them. I feel for the kind of travelling fans. But then again, I kind of look at, like, obviously you can go out on a Saturday night, enjoy yourself, couple of shandies and stuff like that, maybe conscience clear with the shandies as well.
Well, that's that. I mean, it's I guess when I'd seen 8 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday night, your immediate fact is I bring back the 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But like you say, I mean, it's not a bad opportunity to go out and have a couple of beers and go to the pubs with your pals and watch the games. And it's more of a difficult one if you're sort of, I mean, you can imagine an away trip to Aberdeen at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night might not exactly be ideal, you know, but I guess it has its pros and cons.
I think that would be pretty colourful if we went to that one.
You wouldn't be coming home that day anyway, that's for sure.
Aye, yeah, it just depends how you get home as well. So with that one, but I certainly think for me, I mean, obviously, usually when we're watching Rangers and an evening kickoff, it's usually a midweek, either domestic or European game. So we don't often, get the chance. I very doubt we're ever going to see ourselves playing a Friday night because of midweek European games. We've obviously got this silly one coming up on a Monday, basically through our own fault because we can't beat Celtic at Hampden at this moment in time. So it's an interesting one for me. It's just one we'll see. I think there's another one coming up next weekend, which I think was quite a tidy fixture to be worth tuning in for. So we just, if anything, if it gets the viewing numbers up, maybe it's just an opportunity for the likes of, Neil Doncaster to go and ask for a bit more money. If the viewing numbers go up and people are actually sitting watching and subscribing, then maybe we can actually ask for a bit more money as well. But what we'll do is we'll come at the Kelly game, speaking about it. We'll get this on here. This is the starting 11, a wee bit of kind of statistics and stuff like that. So again, thanks to Doug for these slides here. Craig, first of all, what was your initial reaction? Obviously, probably the big talking point when you seen the team come out was that the captain had been dropped.
Yeah. I wasn't too sure. I understood why until he came out and said that he was feeling ill, which is probably why he was on the bench and not completely dropped. You're always wondering when the captain gets dropped if there's some sort of bigger story to it. Turns out there wasn't much to it. But yeah, coming into it, you were thinking, well, what's going on here? I don't mind Max Aarons. I think since Danny Rowe came in, I think he's kind of lifted his performance levels a little bit. He's lifted the performance levels of quite a few players. I think Aarons is one of them. So wasn't overly disappointed, but there is always the sort of, you have to double check to see who's Tavernier's name really not on the team sheet. But I wasn't too worried when I did see it.
Yeah. Speaking of guys at performance levels, Scotty, Connor Barron has, frankly been great, incredible in the last couple of games, and you've seen that, the attitude and the application to the team when he chased back that goal. I think it was Bruce Anderson who went through and goal for Kilmarnock. The vast majority of the team were jogging back towards Jack Butland, but Connor Barron's got his legs open, he's sprinting. It drew, it could have been a real different night for us if he hadn't stopped that ball going in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Conor Barron. I mean, he's tireless. You can never fault his effort on the part, that's for sure. I mean, I guess technically he's found wanting sometimes. His distribution's not the best, but I mean, he'll fight for absolutely everything. You're not going to build a team around somebody like Conor Barron. And let's be honest, going forward, we probably do need a better player than that sitting in that position. But the last couple of games he's been excellent. Like I say, he's just such a wee terrier in there, and as tracking back at Bruce Anderson was absolutely pivotal because as we all seen, as I'm sure we'll touch on at some point in time, he was well inside his own box. So even if that ball had went in, then we would have been in trouble. So Conor Barron's done exceptionally well there, and he's helped his teammates out, and he should be getting the plaudits for it.
Yeah, definitely so. So Jack Butland kept us in the game a little bit. I think he did a couple of half decent saves there, but probably the biggest talking point of the first half when Bojan Miłowski scored the first goal, Craig. I was describing it to my pals at TB. Tommy, what was your take on it?
It's not a classic goal that you're probably going to watch over and over again. This as far as I could see, it was a toe point. But like he's got the ball trapped under his feet. He's trying to dig it out. He gets very little backlift on it. Makes it difficult for the keeper to really judge it. The move, it's one of those things. The move up to it, it's you get the ball on the edge of the box, and then it says pass it around, and it's the build up of the fast build up of the play is kind of lost. But Diamandi does well to keep hold of the ball under a lot of pressure. He manages to get it out to Miłowski, and as I say, caught under his feet, very little backlift. It actually was a much better finish than it looks, because it's a really difficult one to get on target. And you are kind of fooling the keeper with that, because the keeper's expecting, when the ball's like that, the keeper's expecting the ball to go high, and it doesn't. So he's done really well for that finish, and it was a big moment because Kilmarnock had a good few chances in the game before then. So to kind of take the wind out their sails and go 1-0 up was actually very important.
Yeah. Scotty obviously goes on in a kind of similar type, kind of scrappy goal. They all count at the end of the day, and we think about how many that Alfredo had scored during this time, even going back to guys like McCoy. It doesn't matter how it goes in. It could be a 40-yard screamer. It could be a toe poke. It could go off somebody's backside. It doesn't really matter. The ball ends up in the back of the net, and all these goals count. Is it now Miłowski's shirt to lose? Is he kind of starting to cement his place as Rangers' first choice striker?
Well, it certainly is his shirt to lose at the moment. I mean, basically, if you score a goal now as a centre forward, it's your shirt to lose. So, I mean, we haven't getting two. By the way, I think the two goals were really good. The first one was really instinctive, to be able to dig that out his feet and stick the ball in the back of the net, as Craig says. The second one, I wasn't sure if he actually hit it properly or not. Like watching it back a few times, I'd seen it and I went, that's a tremendous finish. Then you start to watch it and you go, I don't know if you've hit that right, but it doesn't matter, like you say, it's in the back of the net. But it is his shirt to lose. But I mean, let's be honest, the bar is pretty low up there at the moment with Chermiti and Danilo. So it definitely is his shirt to lose. I'm just hoping that we're going to start to see the Miłowski that terrorised defences when he was at Aberdeen, the type of player who can carve a chance out of nothing and actually try and kind of fire us into a bit more of a bit more contention, really, when it comes into things, because by facto we are in a title race now. With the points we've picked up, it's been such a mad season, and we need guys like Bojan Miłowski to be on form. We still need another striker in January, that's clear as day, but I really hope that this is his opportunity to kick on now. He's got the goals, hopefully it builds a bit of confidence with him, and we can actually see a bit more of Miłowski, the Miłowski that we hoped we were going to get.
Yep. Another guy that I think we're starting to see signs of what we hoped we were getting, Craig, was Mikey Moore. When he came on, showing Taylor Asgard exactly what it takes to play number 10 for Rangers, in my opinion. He's taken the ball in the half turn, he's driven at the defence, and he slotted the ball finally into the corner there. And I said a few weeks ago that I just felt as if every game he was growing with confidence, and once he got a goal, I think another one will come, and I think another one will come. And he did get a second on the night, obviously only one of them counted there, but where is he now in your estimations? I've seen comments in this podcast in recent weeks saying he was getting rated as a pub player, but where is he now?
Well, on his form, I think he's got to be, as long as he's not injured again, he's got to be in the starting team. As you said, I like to see him in that 10. I hope the Bayrami injury isn't too serious, because I'd like to see those two starting to link up a bit. I think that could be good. I said when his goal went in the other night, I said when he scored up at Dundee, he's got a lot to prove, and I think we can really see why Spurs rate him so highly and why they wanted him to sign a new contract before he came on loan here, because he has a lot of talent. And I think but come the end of the season, I have a feeling that we'll have really good things to say, good memories of Mikey Moore when he goes back down to Tottenham, because in reality, I think he's a player that will be beyond our price range. And as I say, Tottenham, by the looks of things, have a lot of plans for him. So he's one that I think we're really going to see shine in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you see him actually on loan out some sort of top level European team next season, to be honest with you, to try and get a few more stripes in his jersey. As far as that's concerned, I think he's just one of these guys that were, going to say that he played for us and he was part of us, and I think probably kind of like Sereno Gattuso and stuff like that, he might get on. And I'm not going to say he's a World Cup winner, European Cup winner, but I think he's going to be a guy that will certainly light up the Premier League at the top end. So best of luck to him in the future. Obviously, we also got him. Let's enjoy him. But Scotty, talking about Bayrami's injury, he's obviously come in. He's done not too bad the last couple of games. He's been off injured there. In the unlikely event he doesn't make it back, I'd like to think he's made a more resilient stuff to some of the other players. There's a certain young Welshman who's in the last 6 months of his contract who's picking up a fine, handsome salary at Ibrox. Is there any possibility you might see the return of Rabbi Matondo?
No. Absolutely not for me. I'm sorry. I just when Matondo played, I wasn't a fan of him. I think he's just not interested, to be honest with you. It's clear as day. He went away to Germany, obviously on loan last season, played one game and then vanished again. No, he's not for me. Is he injured? Is he not? Nobody knows. I don't ever want to see Rab Matondo in a Rangers shirt again. And I'm talking about highlights on the telly as well. He's not for me. I've never liked him as a player. I'm pretty confident I wouldn't like him as a person. I don't want him anywhere near the club, to be honest with you. That's
even as somebody though that's gone into the last 6 months of his deal. I mean, he's obviously surely fighting. He's fighting for his footballing future. Let's be honest. He's coming into the last 6 months of his contract. He's got to do something. I mean, I don't know if there's something that's written into his contract that he plays so many games in the last year of his contract, being obliged to offer another one, or he can activate a deal that might keep him out. Obviously, we'll never be privy to the ins and outs of his contract. But, if you look to somebody who has to apply themselves, surely when you look at it, do you not think he's at least worth a chance?
I'd rather be called Oscar Cortez and played him at left wing, to be honest with you. I just don't think he's not got the minerals to play for Rangers. He really doesn't. He's done nothing in his years here to indicate that he's anywhere near good enough to play for Rangers. I think he had one game when I actually went, right, he looks like a player. And that was in a pre-season friendly against West Ham.
Not even a goal at Ibrox against PSV that Dessler had laid onto him.
Fair enough, but
an equaliser in the 85th minute in the Old Firm game at Ibrox. These are one moments. It's not as if he's playing well and getting a goal at the end of it. He hides. He's got one try. He's good if you can get him in beyond the last defender, but that doesn't really happen. Everyone's pushed so far back against Rangers that there's no room for him to utilise. And is he going to get to the wing? No, he's not. I genuinely. I'm sorry. I just don't like him. I've never been a fan of him. He's not for me. And no, I'd rather be played devil. Okay.
Just not for me. Just not for me, Ryan. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Craig, talk me through Kevin Clancy's performance as a neutral. Talk me through Kevin Clancy's performance on Saturday night.
It wasn't the best, was it? for a few reasons that and actually the three main ones that come up, two of them went against Kilmarnock actually and went for Rangers, but I think the three defining ones is the Diamande when he pulled the shirt of the Kilmarnock player that was making the late run into the box. It's a clear foul.
Very Chernish, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So maybe we're getting our good karma back for that one. But yeah, I mean, it's a clear foul and he just doesn't see it. VAR can't intervene because it's not a red card and it's not a penalty because it's outside the box. But he just seems to miss it completely. I mean, Kilmarnock aren't completely done out of it because I believe they got a corner from that phase of play, but they should have got a free kick and probably a foul. The other one is probably a yellow card. The other one's the Butland one. I don't think it's a sending off. I've heard different opinions on this. When he tackles, I believe it was Bruce Anderson. It's not. I don't see it as a red card, but I think he probably should have got a booking for it. There's a lot of force in it. He does get the ball first, but I think the main reason why he gets the ball first is because Anderson boots it off of him. But his studs aren't high, and it's not malicious. It's just there's just a lot of force in it. So I think a yellow card probably would have sufficed there. But again, nothing. And the third one is Mikey Moore's chopped off goal. I'm still trying to work out why it was chopped off. I can't understand. The two players, it was Fernandez, wasn't it? He just kind of runs across the back of him and there's nothing happens. There's very minimal, if any, contact. I don't understand why VAR's even sent him to the screen to look at it, and then for him to then overturn his decision of giving a goal, just ridiculous. So yeah, not a great one for Clancy, but I think Clancy, I don't know if many people would agree with me, but I think Clancy, out of a bad bunch, Clancy is possibly the worst one, certainly down there as one of the worst.
Yep. Scotty, talk me through this. I personally think Butler was lucky to stay in the park. I think in the modern game, in the modern era where you've got this different barometer now of what's a red card and what's not a red card, I think the fact that he's missed the ball with his right foot and taken it with his left knee, and he's obviously cleaned the player out at the same time, it's probably out of control. It's probably endangering an opponent. So there. Now, imagine it was this the other way around, and Majowski gets cleared out of Parkhead and Kasper Schmeichel comes out and does that to Majowski. We're going babies out the bathwater, absolutely everything. So I think he's got lucky that way. But is it this now the sort of time do these things now sort of even themselves up over the course of a season? Is this like where we kind of see it now?
Well, I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you. It's difficult to try and tell because every single week there is a major talking point when it comes to officiating. So, I mean, we've been lucky the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you. I mean, there's been some moments in games that we should have been punished for and we haven't been. I mean, like you say, there's been plenty of times in the past that we've been on the wrong end of some shocking decisions. But the way that I look at these kind of things is how it would be if I was crying for it at the other end. And I think Butland was fortunate. I mean, fair enough, Tav is covering. But I used to work with a referee years ago, and I remember when, like you say, this barometer had sort of came in, and it's always got me thinking about the sort of whether he's endangering an opponent, whether it's reckless, sort of the use of force. And Butland kind of ticked all those boxes for me with that. He didn't really look in control. He did get the ball first, but because Bruce Anderson knocked it against him, I think he's fortunate, to be honest with you. And Tav is a covering man, so I mean, he might well have got away with it, but it was a little bit on the sort of concerning side for me. And you're right to say, Ryan, if that's the other end of the park, I'm screaming for that. I'm going nuts for that. And it's the same with the penalty that I don't know what Diamandi's thinking about. That I'd be screaming for that as well. And
that's just lazy more than anything else for me.
It's a Diamandi moment for me, to be honest with you. There's just far too many of them that happen. He just seems to have these moments when he just completely switches off and doesn't even realise where he is. But I mean, it's another one again. You'd be absolutely screaming for it. The Mikey Moore one was a shame because it was a great finish, and I'm not entirely sure where I watched it back a few times, and I didn't know if the infringement happened with Fernandes up the field when he sort of started off his mazy little run, or when it was actually he'd clipped the coming together of the players just as he releases the ball.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
either way,
The boys run to close the nail down at pace, and basically he runs across Fernandes, and I think you couldn't say 100% certain there was actually a contact between Fernandes and the boy, but he's made enough of it that the referee's called it back. Said, and to be honest, even if he even got to Danilo would actually manage to turn his body. They probably wouldn't be able to get a tackle on Danilo, and the ball was actually probably away from him anyway. So I think they were being a wee bit sympathetic towards him there. But anyway, we won the game 3-0, and that's it. Now,
exactly, that's up.
You said a minute ago there, Scotty, that you feel as if Rangers are still in this title race. You know, is that based on the result yesterday, not necessarily at Rugby Park, but more the result at Parkhead yesterday?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it's been a bit of a mad season so far. We're not really used to being in a situation where, well, we're sitting where we are at the moment, but the teams above us are dropping points quite frequently. I mean, obviously, Hearts have been on a bit of a barren run. They're dropping points. Celtic had sort of started to pick it up under Martin O'Neill, and then obviously had a poor result yesterday. But teams are dropping points left, right, and centre. We're coming into a run of fixtures just now, or we're in a run of fixtures just now, where teams are going to be taking points off of each other, which is going to have a big difference moving forward towards the sort of the run-in. So it's mainly by mathematical that we're kind of there or thereabouts, not by obvious how we're playing in games or anything like that. But because we certainly don't look as if we should be in a title race the majority of the time. But yeah. It's a mathematical side of things. You look at it. I mean, we've got a game in hand at the moment. If we win that game in hand, it's 6 points behind Hearts, which is far from an insurmountable amount. And we play them on the 21st of December in Tynecastle. So obviously a difficult game, a difficult place to go at the best of times. But you win that, you're in touching distance. So I mean, that's just the swing of just a couple of games. So even though we're not playing the best football on the park, and even though we did win 3-0 on Saturday, there's still an awful lot of improvements to make. We all know that. But, I mean, we're there or thereabouts. And you look at the next run of fixtures that's coming on, sort of Hibs, Hearts, Celtic, Motherwell. You win them. Big ass, but you win them, and you're right there. That's it.
I think the 4 weeks will maybe shape our season, Craig. Would you agree with
that? Aye. You've got all the teams above us. Within that period, 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, absolutely, that's gonna shape your season in the league. I can't wait for Europe to be over. Obviously, I mean we might get through, obviously, but I think if we remove the distraction of European football and have half a season where we just focus on domestic games, pretty much all league games, with a few Scottish Cup games thrown in between. I think we could really, really benefit from that. And as you say, 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to play Hearts at Tynecastle, you're going to play Celtic at Parkhead, you're going to play Motherwell, who we shouldn't quite, if we're going to throw ourselves in there, Motherwell are on the same number of points as us. I mean, we've got a game in hand on them as well, but if they're going to keep up, then they could be there. I think that 3 or 4 weeks. 3 or 4 weeks, that's going to make or break your league season, and it will be such a shame if they just completely throw it away. Because with the start we had and the position we find ourselves in now, partly because of how other teams are dropping points, it would be such a shame to throw it away now with the sort of the extra we've been chucked, the possibility that we have to really put ourselves in for the title.
Do you think, as well, just before we go on, we're going to go on to have a wee chat about potential recruitment. We're going to talk about domestic recruitment in the second half of the show here, guys. So before I go into that, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel, please, particularly on YouTube. As YouTube's the one that delivers the money for us, to be honest. So watching it on X and watching it on Facebook, to be honest, as much as you are welcome here, it's not actually making any money for the channel. We do a lot of things. You can see, obviously, the slides that are produced. We subscribe to a lot of kind of scouting software and stuff like that to bring these slides to you. So anything you can do to help us out is much appreciated. And speaking about helping us out, we've got a sponsor, the Bluebells Bar in Portdale Carmen. Our Colin was out there last week, and as far as I'm aware, he had a wonderful time. He really enjoyed it. The internet signal wasn't particularly great, or so he tells his missus anyway. So he wasn't able to report in maybe as much as what he should do. But Kenny and the team will look out for you there, guys. If you're lucky enough to disappear at the sun over the festive period, then head over there. All the Rangers games will be on, and you'll be able to get food, drink, and have a great time. But we'll come on to this here, guys. So, Scotty, do you think the amount of recruitment that's going to be done will be based on the next 4 weeks? Is Danny Rowe's transfer budget going to be dependent on where we see ourselves on the 3rd of January or possibly the 4th of January?
It may well be. I mean, I think Calvin has come out already and says that there's money going to be available anyway. But I mean, obviously, it's not going to do any harm to keep picking up the points and sort of claiming the league and sort of trying to cement ourselves up there. Obviously, the Europe is a bit horrendous this season, but obviously it is where sort of a lot of the money lies for us going forward. So, I mean, it's obviously important to keep building up the league to try to make sure that we do have European football of a good standard next season.
Yeah,
it's not going to do any harm anyway, that's for sure when it comes down to it. But I mean, as I've said before on the pod, it's the recruitment in January needs to be absolutely bang on. I mean, it needs to be the opposite of what it's been in the summer. I think it's been probably the worst transfer window in the history of Rangers Football Club in the summer. So it needs to be absolutely spot on. And whether that's homegrown players or whether that's players that Danny Rowe's worked with in the past, it remains to be seen.
Sure. Well, everyone always talks about shopping local and why we're not signing more Scottish players and stuff. So here's a few I'd probably describe as realistic Scottish targets for us. So guys, get your opinions in on these. Some of them will be good opinions, some will be bad opinions, some of them will be laughed at. And I'm sure there'll be one right in the middle of the park there on Kenny McLean, which will raise a few eyebrows. You see him on the right hand side there. Anytime I see McLean's name mentioned, a lot of people are for him and a lot of people are against him. But so it's just that what's available. So not everyone will know the boy in goals, Callum McKenna. He's an 18-year-old boy. I think he came through the ranks at Queen's Park, currently on the books at Bournemouth. James Penrice out at Ajax Athens at the moment. We had a good season with Hearts last year. Scott McKenna needs no introduction. Lewis Mayo, formerly with ourselves. Josh Mulligan, who we thought we were going to be getting in the summer. Obviously, stuff went on in the background and he didn't obviously end up with us. He ended up with Hibs. Kenny McLean, who's known to us all, I'm sure. Dave Watson out of contract to the end of the season. A boy Fraser Murray, who I mentioned before we came on. I don't actually know too much about him, being honest. Lenny Miller, pretty decent profile. Simon Murray, again, another guy who needs no introduction to us, and a guy who I can't actually believe is not wearing a blue jersey is Lawrence Shanklander. So, Craig, I'll come to you first of all. Just pick somebody at random. Pick somebody who you would sign, pick somebody who you wouldn't sign, who you got absolutely no interest in. And I'll come to you on that as well, Scott.
I think the one that sticks, I mean, there's a few that stick out at me, to be honest with you. Mulligan, Watson, Scott McKenna. I think Watson being out of contract is a big thing for me. I think he's a very good player. I've always rated him fairly highly. Good young player as well. There's other ones there who aren't quite, I would say, really what we're looking for. There's a reason Lewis Mayo didn't make the first team. Decent defender for the Scottish Premiership, but not for Rangers. Simon Murray, I also wouldn't look at either. The one actually I would have put in there instead of Simon Murray is probably Kieran Bowie, just simply on an age thing. But one to take, short answer, one to take Watson, one to avoid probably Simon Murray.
Right. Can I ask you about Dave Watson? Do you think he's a better player than Lyle Cameron? Based on what he's done this season compared to what Cameron did last season?
I can't agree with that. No, I wouldn't say so. But I think if you're looking to flesh out the squad, I think if you're going to look at maybe if Raskin's got, we don't know what's going to happen with Raskin, don't know what's happened with Diomande, you've got Barron in there. I think if you've got Lyle Cameron, you've got Watson in there, you've got a strong young Scottish midfield. I would prefer Mulligan, but I didn't pick Mulligan because he's just moved to Hibs, whereas Watson is out of contract. So, no, I wouldn't say he's a better player than Lyle Cameron, but I think that he could still add, and that would maybe end up pushing Lyle Cameron further up the table and getting him more minutes. I think a lot of people want that. I think a lot of people want to see him getting more minutes. So if you've got Watson in there, it can open something. Watson in there, and if Raskin leaves or Diamandi leaves or something, it pushes Lyle Cameron up, and then you can get Watson in to cover.
Yep. Scotty, give me somebody who you'd be keen to sign. Somebody who you wouldn't be as keen to sign.
Kenny McLean is the one for me that I'd be keen on signing. I think he would bring a real sense of reliability into that middle of the park. I think he's a player that you can rely on. He's obviously very technically gifted as well, and I think he should have been at Rangers a while ago, to be honest with you. I think he's out of contract at the end of the season as well. So, I could be wrong with that one, right enough, but
probably check that for you.
That's I'm sure I might have dreamt that right enough, to be honest with you, but I believe he's also club captain down at Norwich, so I mean it's not exactly going to be the easiest thing to tempt Big Phil to get rid of him, if that's going to be the case. But Ken McLean would be the one for me. I think he's the kind of guy that we're crying out for. I think he'd be a nice little glue in that middle of the park. The one that I wouldn't take, I mean, there's a few, to be honest with you, but well, see, before I say anything else, to be honest, Penrice, Mulligan and Shanklin should have been Rangers players in the summer, in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure how the three of them managed to, well, I do know how they managed to slip through the net, but there's no point in going over all ground, is there? There's a couple in there that I wouldn't take. I mean, Lewis Mayo, as was rightly said, he wasn't good enough for Rangers at the time. He's not good enough for Rangers now. Callum McKenna, I'm a big believer in goalkeepers growing into their game as they build experience, as they build age. Goalkeepers come into their peak around about 28, 29-year-old. So a player like that who's obviously developing, not really for me at the moment. But I mean, like I said, Dave Watson, he's obviously a talented player out of contract at the end of the season. You've got to think something like that would be a no-brainer again. But like you rightly say, he's no better than Lyle Cameron. And we've got Lyle Cameron there who kind of get a sniff at the moment. But for the record, annoyingly, there's no many players on there that are actually better than what we've got at the moment. And that's the infuriating thing about it. It's the fact that we've got these players who are Norwegian internationals, Finnish internationals, North Macedonian internationals who just can't be doing it on a regular basis for whatever reason. In a weird way, it would almost seem reckless to replace them with these guys. And it sounds weird saying that with how poorly we've played this season, but I can't get my head around this. But I mean, the likes of Lennon Miller, well out of grasp now. As soon as he went to Italy, he's gone forever. You're never going to get him back in Scotland. Scott McKenna wouldn't be a bad signing either, to be honest with you. But I believe he's just went to Croatia, hasn't he? So getting him out of contract might be more difficult as well. But long answer short, Ken McLean for me, and no Lewis Mayo.
Okay, no, that's appreciated, mate. And Doug's just confirmed that, just as you asked, here he is, contract at the end of the season, Kenny McLean, but Norwich allegedly have an extension to add on for a year. That might to do on Norwich's ability to get out the Championship or not. You might find if they do get promoted, they might look to move McLean on to something a wee bit better, but hopefully does there. I think the other thing we've got to consider with McLean, if we go for him in January, it's a World Cup year. And does he really want to jeopardise any possibility of playing in the World Cup by moving to Rangers? Does he want to just stay with what he knows? He's obviously might not be playing every week for Norwich, but he is still getting regular time for Scotland. So does he want to jeopardise that once in a lifetime opportunity to go and represent Scotland at a World Cup? So I think we've got to find that in there. I'll still never go over, if Lauren Shanklin never pulls on a blue jersey, to be honest, lads, I'll never ever understand what that guy's ever done wrong to not play for Rangers. I mean, at the end of last season, he's cleared out his locker at Hearts. I thought it was inevitable that it was going to become a Rangers player. For me, it represented probably one of the biggest no-brainers in the history of Scottish football for us to take him. And it's just something. And I think you can even see the goals that he's getting this year. It's madness, absolute madness. But anyway, here's one here. What could have been? So we're talking about boys who have moved on. Scott, you mentioned Lennon Miller there. Craig, talk me through probably the one that, again, give me one that you would have taking a punt on whilst he was here, and one that you're surprised that we never took a punt on?
Well, I'm surprised we never held on to Billy Gilmore for another couple of years to get him in the first team and maybe fleece a bit more money for him than we did. How old was he when he went to Chelsea? Was it 15 or 16?
16, mate. I think it's... Obviously, I don't know personally. I don't know his family or anything like that, but from what I've kind of been told in the circuit is that the money that Chelsea were offering him, it was just far more than what we were willing to offer a boy of that age. I think they were talking as much as they were putting on, like, kind of nearly... they basically made him a higher rate taxpayer, as far as what I know. The money that he was offered and the accommodation within the academy and stuff like that, and the football and education, it was just far better than what we could offer him, unfortunately. So he went.
Yeah, that's a shame. I wish we could have seen him for a little bit in the first team. I think that there was high potential in them all, but Rangers just weren't interested at the time. I think the one outside of Gilmore, I think the one that's probably the most nailed on is probably Lewis Ferguson, just simply because of his surname's Ferguson and what that family has contributed to Rangers over the years. He was someone that we could easily have got our hands on when you look at the price tag that Bologna paid for him and what they got for their money. It's a nailed on Rangers signing, Lewis Ferguson, for all those reasons. I think outside of Gilmore, as you say, I wasn't fully clued up on the circumstances around Gilmore moving, but outside of that, I think Lewis Ferguson's the biggest miss there.
Yeah, Scotty, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that, to be honest with you. Lewis Ferguson is the one that is the missing one for me. It's you just went on to you see how he's went on to progress at Bologna and winning the Pichichi and all these wonderful tournaments and accolades in Italy. It was a major loss, and I remember at the time when he was getting heavily linked to come to Rangers, there was an awful lot of fans who were dead against it as well, and I couldn't quite get my head around that. But Lewis Ferguson is the big one for me. But I mean, you could say that about Josh Doig as well. Josh Doig, I think we missed a trick with, but Rangers simply didn't have £3 million at the time when Josh Doig was leaving Hibs. And if they did have £3 million, it certainly wasn't going on a left fullback. But yeah, I mean, it's quite sad when you look at that, the players that sort of that were lost. I mean, even Lennon Miller as well. Lennon Miller and Bailey Rice playing together at Motherwell, and our scouts have been and watched, and they've taken Bailey Rice, who there's no doubt he's a good player, but he's just obviously not had the trajectory that Lennon Miller's had, and now a lot of that is at the fault of Rangers. Unfortunately, his injuries record's not been great either, but yeah, I mean, it's you could say that about really any of them. Lyndon Dykes not essentially, but I mean, Hickey, Doig, Ferguson, Gilmore leaving was just unfortunate. He just couldn't turn 16 quick enough and sign a professional contract, and Chelsea came in. They'll do what big clubs in England will do for the rest of their existence. They'll just come in and just take players right under your nose. It's just one of those things. And as you say, Ryan, if he's giving them all the money under the sun, then there's absolutely nothing that Mark Warburton and Rangers can do about that. But it's just one of those things. I dare say we've done it to clubs in the past as well, so it happens.
Yeah. I think talking about doing it to clubs in the past, there somebody's asking about Bailey Rice here, and I think that's similar circumstances. We basically went to Motherwell, and there was a choice between Bailey Rice and Lennon Miller, which one we were going to take, and we were told that Rice was going to be the better of the two. He was a bigger prospect, and it's not exactly worked out that way, has it? Anyway, but let's not cry over spilt milk, lads. We can see what's going on here. I don't think there's any doubt that those guys, any of those 6 guys, who would be starting for Rangers pretty much every single week where they are just now. So here's another reason why you should shop local. A few kind of examples here. I'll come to you first of all, Craig. Talk me through there. And there's guys here that, we're talking about guys that aren't Rangers level. You've got guys in there like Kurt Broadfoot. I don't think you would describe him as Rangers level when he first signed for us. Guys saying that there's Kenny McLean's too old for us and stuff like that. But look at then, obviously, Claudio Carigi and the job he did for us. And this is just an example of what can happen there. You don't even necessarily need to be Scottish there. You've got Glenn Kamara down at the bottom right-hand corner there as well. So pick one of these guys and talk me through what they did for Rangers.
I would like to talk about a good friend, Kevin Thompson. I say a good friend. I've met him a couple of times. He's a nice guy. I've always said, I mean, I was a bit young at the time when the whole thing was happening. Hibs had that ridiculous youth team that came through. They had a lot of good young players coming through, including Kevin Thompson and Stephen Whittaker, and Stephen Fletcher and these kind of guys, Derek Riordan, and it was just they were just there ready for Rangers and Celtic just to cherry pick. And you look at the two guys that were playing in midfield, Thompson and Scott Brown, and Thompson obviously came to us and Scott Brown went to Celtic. I have always felt that we get the better player in Kevin Thompson over Scott Brown. Always 100%. The only issue with Kevin Thompson was he was injured a bit too much. I've always thought Kevin Thompson was a fantastic Rangers player. Would have went on to do a lot more if he could get his injuries in place. So yeah, and like you say as well, just to touch on Broadfoot, just to echo what you said, no one would ever have thought he was Rangers quality, but Walter Smith had a fantastic way to drag players up a level than what they had shown before, and he obviously seen something, but no one would have ever thought that he was a guy that could have made it at Rangers, and he was a solid player. Won 4 trophies. He was a UEFA Cup finalist. Started that game, I'm sure, UEFA Cup final in Manchester. Fantastic servant for Rangers. That again, yeah, he, as you say, no one would have been able to see that coming. But those are the ones. Those are the ones for me.
Yep, Scotty, talk me through.
Well, I mean, I've got obviously great admiration for a lot of those players there. When I think like sort of why shop local, I think Andy Gorham, and like the wonderful servant he was coming for Hibs. But I mean, with the slide that we have here, the one that sticks out for me is Lee Wallace. To be honest with you, I thought Lee Wallace was a tremendous player for Rangers, a great servant, very, very loyal. And how he was treated by the club at the end was pretty shocking, to be honest with you. It was really quite sad. Always a big fan. He wore his heart on his sleeve. You've seen that with the whole contract situation after we won at Easter Road, when he's thumping his chest and he's thumping his captain's armband as well, and he's doing all this with the contract as if he's trying to sign a new contract, and it's never materialised. I thought he was a smashing player. I really did like him. I thought he kind of sort of epitomised the Rangers support at that time during a really, really, really difficult time for the supporters and the club coming back up through the divisions. And he was the one that kind of sticks out for me. But like you say, I mean, Kevin Thompson, smashing player. I love Claudio Caniggia. How can you not love big Claudio? He was fantastic. I remember Diego Maradona showing up at Ibrox to watch a game where Claudio Caniggia is playing. These kind of things you just would never expect to see, But I mean, any number of. I wasn't a big fan of Kurt Broadfoot, to be honest with you. I thought he was very limited in his ability, but he gave his all. I'll say that for him. He rocked up in a game I was watching not too long ago, playing for the Caledonia Braves against East Kilbride, and it was a bombshell then as well. But as Doug rightly says in the comments there, the bottom 4 actually made it to a European final as well. So. Certainly decent pedigree for the guys, and certainly sort of a backing point as to why you should look sort of locally, because it's not all just cloggers as some people might think in this league.
Yep. But do you want to find out why you shouldn't shop locally?
I'll go on.
Just to play devil's advocate here, right? Everyone needs to close their eyes quickly. So here's a few examples here. And when I'm talking about, when we mentioned Kyle Lafferty, we're talking about Kyle Lafferty's second spell when we brought him back from Hearts. So, Craig, I'll let you have first dig at it when you go.
Jesus. I'm trying to find one to justify, but I can't. Yeah, look, Hasty is another one that you're just you don't understand. He wasn't worth it at the time. He started to break through in the team in Motherwell, but he wasn't absolutely, setting the world on fire. They had a decent attack, I remember, at that time.
He had a decent 6 months, and I had a friend who played with him prior to that 6 months at Motherwell, and he couldn't believe that Jake Hastie was getting a move to Rangers.
Aye. It really wasn't worth it. The biggest chancer on this is Scott Wright. I do not have a clue how he was at Rangers so long. I do not have a clue how he ended up on the pitch for Rangers so often. He started the final in Seville. Scott Wright started a European final.
We had Sakala and Diallo on the bench.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. That is... Van Bronckhorst had something for him. Van Bronckhorst really liked him for some reason, and I still, to this day, cannot work out what it is. Because Scott Wright used to start almost every game. Kyle Lafferty was past his prime. Canberry wasn't worth it. Jordan Jones. You could talk about all these. Greg Docherty. Greg Docherty used to stand out under sort of in Murty's team. But look how poor Murty's team was. Like, any of us sat here would have stood out as a decent player in that team. But aye. It's. I think what this is just something to show you have to make sure you do your homework on these guys before you go paying the money for them.
Yep. Scotty, we done.
O'Halloran. He's the one for me. Clear as day, signed on the back of scoring a hat-trick for St Johnstone against Rangers. Mark Warburton out and bottom, and he was rotten. He did not look interested. He looked every ounce the Celtic supporter that we all knew he was, and he just wasn't interested at all. He's the one that really sticks out for me. Stole a wage for his entire time at Rangers. Did not like him. Just couldn't get... I always failed to see what he provided, or what he was even looking to try and provide when he was playing. He was a winger, fair enough. He didn't play like a winger. He had bags and bags of pace. Never ever seen it. Not for me. He was the one that kind of bothered me. I feel a bit bad for Greg Docherty because I never thought he'd really get an opportunity. There was I can't remember who it was against. It might have been against Hamilton Accies on the plastic pitch. He had a really good game. Some nice little neat reverse balls, sort of playing some guys in, and then before you know it, he's away down to Hull. Gerrard obviously didn't really fancy him.
I'll tell you what's in my mouth. Gerrard just didn't fancy him.
No, that was it. He just didn't fancy him. But I mean, he was a well built player. I thought he would go on to actually have a decent career down south. I mean, it's not really what I don't even know where he is now. I don't even know how it's worked out for him. I think he's the captain of Charlton. He had a decent Hull he was good at Hull. He was all right with Hull. Yeah.
He had a decent spell at Shrewsbury, and I think he might be the captain of Charlton.
Aye. I know he was all right with Hull. Hull is a team that I pay attention to. My wife's family's down in Hull, so it's a team that I do kind of pay attention to. It obviously helps that Lunny's there this season as well. But I was definitely decent there. But I did feel a bit bad for him. He obviously was a player that he just didn't fancy, much like Nico Katic as well. But these things happen. But Michael O'Halloran's the one for me. Just really disappointed. You could even bang Jordan Jones in there. I mean, he picked up a horrible injury, right enough. But we just never really seen the form that he produced for Kilmarnock for Rangers.
I think it was just a lot of attitude and behaviours was the issue with him.
A bit of a big time Charlie, wasn't he?
I just don't think he... I think he didn't take for granted the opportunity he'd been given when he came to Rangers. There we go. Anything else on that one, Craig?
Trying to think. Try to look. Canberry was another one like Hasty. He had an okay-ish month, 6 months or a year or something. Yeah. But was he worth sending it? I mean, did we actually sign him, or was he just on loan? I remember he was on loan for a bit.
Came on loan. I think, did we not send somebody to Hibs on loan? Was it Jamie Murray, maybe? And he came. I remember he played out in Braga the first time we were out in Braga. And he scored a Sharon tonic up at McDermott Park as well. So, but apart from that, not much else. I thought the big man was all right.
Yeah, he done bits and pieces. He scored a couple of shinners and that, but he just wasn't the quality required. I don't think. It's just the same as Hasty. I think we've just seen him have a little bit of a purple patch and just jump too early before actually realizing, what it is we were actually getting.
Here you come, Scotty.
I was just going to ask, what was your thinking on that, Ryan? Who was the player that kind of sticks out for you on that one?
On there,
aye.
As far as the disappointment's concerned,
yeah,
I think Greg Docherty should have been given more time. Definitely. I feel bad adding Scott Wright to this now. I don't think Scott Wright actually ever done anything particularly wrong for Rangers. I just think he was maybe not as good as some other players, and I think maybe a wee bit harsh being on this list there, considering some of the other companies keeping on the list here. And obviously he's had a tackle there, which I think was against Leipzig in the semi-final. He's tackled the boy, which has led to Kamara's goal. So he said contribution there. He scored the win in the Scottish Cup final a couple of weeks later as well. So maybe being a wee bit harsh on him. But it's just, guys, Lafferty and Jordan Jones came out to me just as two guys that have just come in and just basically blown it, to be honest with you. You've got an opportunity to come in, biggest club in the country, one of the biggest clubs in Europe, if not the world, and you're coming to play in a big stage where people are coming from all over to watch you, and you've not even got the decency to behave yourself. You've not even got the decency to be professional. It's all right saying you're a footballer, but please be a professional footballer. So they're probably the two for me that would stick out. But anyway, we've got one more slide to go through, guys. So just one more wee thank you to Doug for doing these. Somebody mentioned him earlier on in the comments here. Is mentioned here, Souttar's been offered a 2-year extension here. So this is somebody who's very much currently out the team due to injury again. But coming up to the end of his contract here, and probably again a guy who splits the room. Craig, I'll come to you first of all on this guy. Oh no, sorry, Scotty, I'll come to you first of all. Would you renew his contract? Do you think he's worth keeping?
I think you need to renew his contract for the sheer fact that the entire backline is either on loan or out of contract at the end of the season. We can't go going through a complete defensive transition again. The likes of John Souttar has been here long enough to know what it's all about. I'm not a huge fan of John Souttar. That's not exactly I never really hide that fact. But I think it's important to give him a new contract. In the same way, I think it's important to give Tavernier a new contract, even if it's for an onboarding type situation, getting guys in, explaining the circumstances, explaining what it's like to play for Rangers. If they aren't Scottish, because a lot of this, what we talk about tonight, is just obviously pure speculation. So, I mean, I think it's important that you do give him another contract just for that reason, that there's a real possibility that we're going to have, out of the back line at the moment, we're going to have him and maybe Tavernier left at the end of the season. Everyone else will be away back to their parent clubs, or Rangers have decided not to buy Derek Cornelius, whatever reason. There's a real possibility there's only going to be 2 permanent senior defenders there, and for that reason, I think it's important that they give him another contract.
Yep. Craig, you with that opinion? Do you think we should see him at the door?
No, I think purely just as Scott said, I think we'd have Tavernier. I think we'd have Fernandes. I think Fernandes is signed permanently. But even still, without Souttar, you've only got them two, so you can't rebuild a whole back line. You need to have something there, and then have a look in the transfer window. So I think he's a good guy. I think he's a decent enough player to have around. I would like us to move on from him being first choice, but that's completely down to Rangers and to him if he wants to be not first choice, or if he wants to move on and maybe be a first choice player somewhere else. I suppose that's up to him. But given if you take it that he is going to stay, or he is willing to stay and be that second choice guy, then I would keep him around.
Yeah, Scott, do you think he rolls and dice himself? Does the freedom of contract, goes to the World Cup, attempts to play out his skin and get himself in the shop window? he's obviously, how old is he now? 29. One last big move for himself.
Well, it may be. I mean, that may be in the back of his mind. But I mean, the one thing I would say is I don't think he's going to get much change at the likes of Vinicius Junior playing up front. So he might not. He might not cover himself in glory with that one. I mean, we don't know who he's going to be playing alongside, but I mean,
that guy Grant Hanley, he's no bad.
Well, I'll put that in the group chat the other day. That would be quite an interesting matchup. Yeah. But I mean,
nobody the national anthem we played with the Berry Hill music.
I mean, I guess that's a possibility for him. He's got. He's getting to the age now where he needs to keep his options open. He's maybe got with his injury record, he's maybe got another 4 years, maybe 5 at the top level if he keeps himself fit. So I mean, he's got to be looking after his future now, and if that's with Rangers, then great. If not, then fair play. But I mean, if he wants to run his contract down and see how he gets on at the World Cup, then that's a risk I'm not sure I would be taking. But then again, it's John Searle.
Craig, would you be insisting that he gets this contract signed sooner rather than later? Would you go as far as taking him out of the team unless he signs something? Seen that a lot of people say that before, that why are we letting these guys play for us when they're just running their contract down? Why are we not just putting them in with the kids?
I don't know. I think it varies within every situation, every player. If it's a player you desperately need to play, then you're just going to have to play them. But if it's someone that we can afford to keep out, then yeah, if they're just going to run their contract down, chuck them with the kids. I think it's down to what it is you need or what it is you require, and if centre half is a problem position, which it is, chances are we're going to have to rely on him, because is he more dependable than Giga and Fernandez? Certainly Giga, I'd say. Fernandez, I'll give a little bit more leeway to, but I'd certainly call him more dependable and more reliable than Giga. So if he's going to run his contract down, but he's still the best man for the job that's there, then he's just going to have to play.
Well, listen, guys, we'll bring it to a close. Thanks very much for your time this evening. Everyone that's tuned in, there's over 250 people watching live, so get yourselves over to YouTube, get a wee like and subscribe. The guys will be on this week, another busy week in the world of Glasgow Rangers. We've got our probably our last chance saloon out in Budapest this weekend, and all the Rangers fans that are travelling out to Budapest, I know we'll be travelling in our numbers again. Please look out for each other, keep each other safe. If you see a Rangers fan lying down in the street, pick him up, ask him where he wants to go. But please take care of yourselves out there. Make sure you all go home safe, please. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch up with you again soon. All the best. Every night is a Rangers Star night. Take care.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.